Hey, basketball fans, welcome back to Tips and Streams, your go-to spot for the hottest NBA regular season predictions. I'm Kokan, and I'm here to break down today's matchups and give you the edge you need to make the best bets. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support means the world to us. Remember, our channel has no sponsors and relies solely on the love and support of viewers like you. Even a small donation by pressing the thanks button under the video helps us keep bringing you top-notch content every day. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and fellow basketball enthusiasts. And we love hearing from you, so drop a comment below and let us know what you want to see in our forecasts. Your feedback helps us improve and bring you the content you crave. Let's jump right into today's NBA predictions. We've got some exciting games lined up, so stay tuned and let's get that winning streak going. Today, we have predictions for 5 NBA games. The first prediction for today is for a game between the Boston Celtics and Detroit Pistons. The Boston Celtics are rolling right now, no doubt about it. Sitting with a 41-16 record and fresh off 5 straight wins, they've been looking like one of the top teams in the league. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown continue to be one of the most lethal duos in the NBA, with Tatum putting up 26.8 points per game and Brown adding 23.3. Their offense is clicking, ranking 6th in scoring with 117.4 points per game, but honestly, it's their defense that's been even more impressive. With Porzingis providing shot blocking and rebounding help, the Celtics are second in the league in field goal defense, making it tough for any team to get easy buckets. When they're on, it's hard to imagine anyone being able to beat them, especially with their depth. Guys like Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard all contributing in a big way. But let's talk about the Detroit Pistons, who have been turning heads lately. After some rough seasons, they're on a 7-game win streak and sitting at a solid 32-26. Cade Cunningham has been the leader of the pack, averaging 25.8 points and 9.5 assists per game, and Malik Beasley is stepping up big time, too. With Jaden Ivey out due to injury, Cunningham's taken on an even bigger load, and he's handled it well. The Pistons' offense is now in the upper half of the league, ranking 13th in scoring, and they've really been knocking down shots efficiently. The most surprising part of their win streak, though, has been their defense. Over the last 7 games, they've been one of the top defensive teams in the league, and they'll need to keep that energy high if they want a chance against Boston. Now, let's be real here, the Celtics are the more talented team. There's no denying that. They've got depth, star power, and elite defense. But here's the thing. Detroit has a couple of advantages going into this matchup. First, they're rested. The Celtics are coming off a game against Toronto, and playing the second night of a back-to-back is never easy. The Pistons, however, have had time to rest and prepare, which could make a big difference, especially in the latter parts of the game. It's going to be tough for Detroit to score efficiently against the Celtics defense, but they've got the pieces to make it interesting. Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart have been solid in the front court, and Ozar Thompson is playing some really good perimeter defense, leading the team in steals. If the Pistons can keep the Celtics off the boards and continue their defensive aggression, they might have a shot at keeping this game close. Detroit has been hitting their stride, and that could give them the momentum they need to challenge Boston. For the Celtics, the key will be to not overlook the Pistons. Yes, they're the more talented team, but Detroit has been playing great basketball lately. Boston needs to clean up their three-point shooting, too. 29% from deep in their last game just won't cut it. If they're not hitting from the outside, it could give Detroit a chance to hang around, especially if they can capitalize on the Celtics' fatigue. In the end, while Boston has the edge in terms of talent, the Pistons have the home court, the rest advantage, and a solid defense to hang tough. I wouldn't be shocked if this one stays closer than expected, and the Celtics might struggle to cover a big spread, especially considering their recent troubles doing so. I think Boston pulls it out in the end, but Detroit's been hot lately, and I wouldn't bet against them keeping this one competitive.
Welcome to BetUS, Sportsbook and Casino, your ultimate hub for secure and thrilling sports betting and casino gaming. BetUS is one of the oldest and most reliable online sportsbooks in the U.S., serving millions of clients all over the globe each month. BetUS, trusted for over 30 years, offers huge welcome bonuses, countless betting options, and many deposit and payout methods. Depositing funds is a breeze and safe, with a minimum deposit of just $10. Payouts are fast and hassle-free, beginning at only $50. Choose from various payout options like MoneyGram, couriered check, cryptocurrency, or bank wire. Signing up is quick and easy. For signing up, you can use the link in the description and enjoy a generous 125% welcome bonus of up to $3,000. By signing up using the link in the description, you'll also support us as we earn a small commission from your registration at BetUS. Thank you for supporting us. Join now and start winning.
The second prediction for today is for a game between the Toronto Raptors and Indiana Pacers. Looking at this matchup between the Pacers and Raptors, I think Indiana has the edge here, especially with how both teams have been playing lately. The Pacers are sitting pretty at 32-24 and have been rolling with one of the best offenses in the league. Tyrese Halliburton has been a machine, not just scoring, but also setting up his teammates with 8.7 assists a game. And then there's Pascal Siakam, who's been putting up solid numbers on both ends, leading the Pacers in rebounds. These two, along with guys like Benedict Mathurin and Miles Turner, make Indiana a nightmare on the offensive side. The Pacers just keep putting up points, averaging 116.4 a game, and that's going to be tough for Toronto to handle. However, where the Pacers still have some work to do is on defense. They've been giving up a lot of points, ranking 21st in scoring defense, allowing 115.6 per game. Their field goal defense isn't much better, sitting at 23rd in the league. If they don't tighten up defensively, Toronto could find some openings, but I'm not sure they have the offensive consistency to make it happen. On the other side, the Raptors have been struggling to find any rhythm offensively, sitting 21st in scoring, averaging just 110.9 points per game. Outside of RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes, who've been solid, it's been a lot of inconsistency. Toronto has guys that can score, but when Ingram isn't in the mix, they just don't seem to click as a unit. Defensively, the Raptors have had their issues as well, allowing 116.4 points per game, ranking 25th in the league. Without Jakob Poeltl down low, they've been vulnerable in the paint. Barnes is really their standout on both ends of the floor, leading the team in rebounds and blocks. But Toronto's defense as a whole just hasn't been able to put it all together, and I think that's where Indiana can capitalize. If they get going offensively, I don't see Toronto keeping up. When you break it down, the Pacers are just the better team right now. They've got the scoring power to outlast the Raptors, and I just don't see Toronto's defense being able to slow them down. That said, I think Toronto will hang around, but Indiana should take this one at home. With their offense firing on all cylinders, the Pacers will be too much for the Raptors to handle tonight. Before we move on, I have a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing might seem like a small action, but it actually makes a big impact for us. Plus, it's completely free for you. Have you clicked that subscribe button? Awesome, thank you so much for your support. Now let's dive back into the video. The third prediction for today is for a game between the Atlanta Hawks and Miami Heat. Looking at this game between the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks, there's a lot on the line for both teams. Right now, the Hawks are sitting in the 8th spot in the East, and the Heat are trailing closely behind in 9th. Both teams are desperate to stay in the playoff race, so this matchup is going to be intense. The Hawks come into this one after a solid 98-86 win over Miami just a couple of days ago. Trae Young was cooking as usual with 11 points and 14 assists, showing why he's the engine that makes this offense go. But it wasn't just him. Atlanta got contributions from all over. Onyeka Okongwu stepped up with a double-digit performance, adding 17 points and 8 boards. Then you had guys like Terrence Mann and Karis LeVert dropping 15 each off the bench. That kind of depth has been Atlanta's strength lately, and it's going to be tough for Miami to match up with that. On the flip side, Miami has been struggling, especially on offense. They just haven't been able to get things clicking. In their last game against Atlanta, they scored only 86 points. This is a team that's barely scraping 90 in some of their recent losses. Tyler Herro had a rough night, shooting just 4 for 19, and while he's capable of putting up 40, he hasn't been consistent. Andrew Wiggins has been a bright spot for Miami, dropping 23 points in that last loss, but he can't do it all by himself. The Heat are going to need more than just one guy stepping up if they want to compete in this one. Miami's shooting has been a major problem. Against the Hawks, they couldn't buy a 3, missing 13 of their first 14 attempts. When you're struggling from deep like that, it's tough to keep up with a high-scoring team like Atlanta. And let's not forget their defense, which has been good in spots, but shaky at times too. They've been giving up easy buckets, and Atlanta's offense is fast, high-paced, and full of shooters. The Heat have to find a way to slow down Trae Young and not let him run the show. If they let him dictate the offense, it could be a long night. Now, Atlanta is no perfect team either. They've had their own struggles, and they've lost 3 of their last 4 games before this win over Miami. But they've been solid against the spread, and I just feel better about where they're at right now compared to the Heat. Miami's been all over the place, and despite the home court advantage, they've just been finding new ways to lose games. The Hawks are playing with confidence, and that's something I don't see for Miami at the moment. For Miami to win, they'll need to stop the Hawks' transition game and make life difficult for Young. If they can disrupt his rhythm and prevent the Hawks from running, they'll have a chance. But based on what we've seen recently, I just don't think Miami has enough right now to handle Atlanta's depth and offensive firepower. In the end, I've got to go with Atlanta here. They've shown more consistency, especially in the last game, and with Trae Young leading the charge, they've got the tools to get it done. Miami is going to have to find a way to turn things around fast, but it's tough to back them in this spot. If the Hawks can keep playing that balanced game on both ends, I think they'll come out on top again. The fourth prediction for today is for a game between the Los Angeles Clippers and Chicago Bulls. So, here we are with the LA Clippers rolling into Chicago to take on the Bulls, and honestly, this game has the makings of a wild one. The Clippers have been struggling lately, no doubt about it. They've dropped 3 straight, and it's been a tough road trip for them, with losses to the Bucks, Pacers, and Pistons. This will be their 5th consecutive road game, and the Clippers haven't exactly been lights out away from home. With their record sitting at 12-16 on the road, it's clear they don't have the same energy and execution when they're not at Staples Center. Even though they sit at 6th in the West right now, their struggles on the road are hard to ignore. What's been hurting the Clippers the most is the lack of a fully healthy squad. Kawhi Leonard, who is obviously the heart and soul of this team, has been out for a chunk of the season, having played just 16 games. Norman Powell, who's been a surprise, leading the team in scoring with over 24 points a game, has also been sidelined recently. Without those two, the Clippers' offense has really been dragging, even though James Harden is doing his best to keep things afloat. And let's not forget about Ivica Zubac, who's been holding down the paint, putting up solid numbers with 15.4 points and 12.5 rebounds. But still, when you lose 2 of your top 3 guys, it's tough to maintain that competitive edge. One thing the Clippers have going for them is their defense, which has been one of the best in the league. They're ranked 3rd in defensive rating, and their style of play tends to slow things down, forcing opponents to play at their tempo. But their offense? It's been far from consistent. They're only 18th in offensive rating, and the turnovers? Yikes. They turn the ball over a lot, which is always a killer, especially in close games. Their shooting, particularly from deep, is another concern. They attempt the 3rd fewest three-pointers in the league, which just limits their scoring options. If they want to win this game, they'll need to clean up the turnovers and make sure they don't get outpaced by the Bulls' fast tempo. As for Chicago, they've had their own struggles this season, but there's been a shift since the All-Star break. After a brutal 6-game losing streak, they came out swinging with a dominant 142-110 win over the 76ers. They've shown some fight, even if they haven't been able to string together consistent wins. Losing Zach LaVine was a blow, but guys like Mattis Buzelis and Josh Giddey have stepped up. Giddey, in particular, has been playing out of his mind lately, averaging nearly 18 points in his last 10 games. Buzelis has also been a bright spot, scoring 13.3 points per game recently and shooting a solid percentage. But even with these improvements, the Bulls still have major issues, especially on the defensive end. They've been one of the worst defensive teams in the league, especially in the paint. They're allowing the most points in the paint in the entire NBA, and against a team like the Clippers, that could be a real problem. Offensively, the Bulls rely a lot on the three-point shot. They're 2nd in the league in attempts per game and rank 10th in shooting percentage from deep. If they can get hot from beyond the arc, they've got a real shot at pushing the pace and keeping the game competitive. But the key for the Bulls will be to tighten up their defense, especially in the paint, and limit the Clippers' ability to control the game tempo. If you look at this matchup on paper, the Clippers should be the better team, but their road struggles and injury problems make them a risky pick. The Bulls have been covering spreads recently and have shown signs of improvement, especially with the momentum from their big win over Philly. I think the Clippers will still try to slow the game down and play their usual defense-heavy game, but with their top guys missing, I'm leaning toward the Bulls here. They've been playing with more energy and covering spreads, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them keep this one close. I'm not fully sold on the Bulls yet, but with the Clippers being shaky on the road, I've got a feeling they'll cover the spread tonight. The fifth prediction for today is for a game between the San Antonio Spurs and Houston Rockets. Alright, here's the deal with this matchup between the Spurs and the Rockets. San Antonio's been a little up and down lately, especially without their superstar, Victor Wembanyama. They've had some decent moments, but without that big presence in the paint, they're struggling to compete physically. They've shown they can hang with Houston earlier this season, but the last game was a blowout, and honestly, that's where the problems lie. If they want any shot here, they're going to need to execute on defense and hope that De'Aaron Fox can turn in a big performance. He's been solid, averaging 21 points and 7 assists, but without the big man protecting the rim, he's going to need help from his teammates. The Rockets have been a little inconsistent too, but their defense is legit. They've got one of the best defenses in the league, allowing under 109 points per game and locking teams down to less than 46% shooting. Houston's bread and butter is their defense, and if they can clamp down on Fox and make it hard for the Spurs to get open looks, they should cruise in this one. They also lead the league in offensive rebounds, which is crucial. With the Spurs' ability to box out being weaker without Wembanyama, the Rockets will get those extra possessions, and that could be the difference. I'm really curious to see how the Rockets approach this one because, in the last game they played, they blew the Spurs out by 27 points. The Rockets aren't the most explosive offensively, but when they hit the glass like they do and get those extra chances to score, it changes everything. Alperen Sengun has been a beast, averaging 19 points and 10.5 rebounds, and he'll likely dominate in the paint with the Spurs lacking that interior defense. If Sengun can do his thing down low, it's going to be tough for San Antonio to keep up. The other thing is Houston's got the home court advantage, and that's a big deal. The Spurs will be traveling in from New Orleans after a tough game the night before, while the Rockets get to sleep in their own beds and play in front of their home crowd. That extra energy and lack of travel fatigue will definitely play a part, especially when you look at how inconsistent San Antonio has been on the road this season. I expect the Rockets to take care of business here. They're just the better team, and while the Spurs can still make things interesting if Fox is on fire, it's hard to see them keeping up for the full 48. Houston's defense, their second chance opportunities, and the fact they've been playing stronger at home should be enough to cover the spread. This one's Houston's game to lose, and I think they'll do enough on both ends of the floor to lock this one down.